All right, glad to have you back. Well, the federal government has expressed confidence in achieving its 36.35 trillion naira revenue target for 2025 as economic reforms continue to take shape under President Bola Tinubu's administration. According to a statement Monday, the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Mr. Abubakar Bagudu, made this assertion during a hearing at the National Assembly. The Joint Committees on Finance, where he discussed the 2025 Appropriation Bill. Speaking in Abuja, Mr. Bagudu highlighted the positive impact of the administration's recent reforms, particularly the removal of fuel subsidy, foreign exchange subsidies, which he said have already started to yield positive results. According to the minister, these changes have begun to boost the revenue of the three tiers of government, with tangible benefits first visible in the Federation as early as October 2023. Well, let's talk to a partner, senior economist with SPM Professionals, Mr. Paul Alaje. He joins me live from our Abuja studios. Good afternoon, Mr. Alaje. It's good to have you join the program. Happy New Year to you.
Good afternoon, and thank you so very much for having me. Happy New Year to you, sir.
Well, let's start with this projection. 36.35 trillion naira is what government, of course, revenue government intends to generate, of course, for the 2025 spending plan. And the minister is saying this is achievable considering removal of fuel and foreign exchange subsidies. What is your understanding of this, and how feasible is this to you as an economist?
Thank you once again. For me, there are both upsides and downsides of the projection. 36 trillion naira is possible. One, because flotation of exchange rate, which properly speaking, for the case of developing countries, devaluation, it means $1 before for every revenue earned in dollars was equal to 500 to 700 naira. Today, the good news on the part of government is that $1 now equals to 1,500. Another good news is that there have been stability around crude oil price, which is one of our revenue inflows in Nigeria. As of yesterday, the price of Brent crude, Brent crude particularly, which Bonny Light, Nigeria crude is benchmarked on, went above $80 per barrel. Today is around $80 per barrel. Yesterday it was $81 per barrel. The good news is that as that increases, it has implication on Bonny Light that benchmark the price of our local crude on it, on Bonny Light. So that on Brent crude, which is good news for us. Now the question or challenge here is that is all this revenue getting remittance, the proportion of federal government, are they getting remitted to the cover of the federal government? If we improve on the NNPC books, or like what we saw last year, then I can tell you that we can have this projection achieved. I think the authority will need to sit and perhaps look at NNPC books so that these remittances can come up as soon as possible. Again, there are other things that government has done transaction on. That, of course, may bring in revenue for us. Duties, the revenue on duties is huge because the rate again has changed. So money coming in from custom, money coming in for immigration and so on and so forth is also expected to reflect the new realities. But this will also not be sufficient. What we need to look at is that good news for 2024, FRS surpassed our own target, the target it set. I want to believe that FRS targets this year will also be surpassed. But you see, in doing this, something is very key that the budget is benchmarked on. And I'm very sincere with you. I haven't seen the budget and look at by how much, even if we double what we did last year, what is it that we should be looking at? The tax bill. I think the tax bill has a major role to play in this revenue projection. How do we, with the tax bill being in National Assembly, and the presidency is hopeful, expecting that authority will do the needful. Why? Because if we put this in place and we make necessary adjustments, some of which I have recommended at one of the town hall meetings that I held, and I've also recommended on television among others, and we're able to pass this tax bill, then we're able to make some adjustments that is actually hindering major progress in our tax in our tax life or in Nigeria as regards to taxation. The point here is that do not throw away the baby with the bathwater. Yes, there are things that require amendment in that tax bill, some of which I've shared on different platforms, including these. I believe that if this is done, we may need to look at, we may now have more revenue as it is. So clearly government is looking at improved revenue in 2025, and I believe that if we do all the needful the way they should, clearly speaking, we can achieve this. Now, if these are not done, we might have to resort to borrowing. Again, we have seen a major push in government expenditure, and people have said, oh, this budget of 49 trillion is too high. When I converted to the dollar, I saw that we have not really done anything different from what we have done over the years. Around 25 to 32 billion dollars. This budget also resides around that. Again, what has changed? Flotation of the naira. With what people may want to call humongous amount government is spending, if government don't take this major step of realizing at least 35 trillion naira from the projected 49 trillion naira, this will lead into increased or expanded borrowing. And when this happens, recall that borrowing most of the time, most often than not, will not come at free. It will have a cost. This cost will have implication on our GDP, on our currency strength, and so on and so forth. So that we don't go back in dealing with much bigger evil, much bigger economic concern in the future. We need to quickly look at it. It's early in the year. How do we meet this target? And I think those key areas, subsidy, recall that subsidy was to take about 6 trillion naira. It has already taken over 3 trillion naira before the president said subsidy is gone. So if you are to pay subsidy today, how much would we have actually paid? Can we withdraw that money from the system if truly it's available? We were paying 189 and to be charitable, say 200 naira per litre. Today, with the recent reduction, it went to between 890 to 990, depending on the filling station.
Well, I think
was drawing a strength from. Now, money to spend and money that is available, they are two different things. This is both sides of the coin, and I believe that those in authority can take what will benefit them and have a better budget in 2025.
I think that's a good way to start this conversation. Detailed breakdown there, revenue generation and all. But I like your views around this, Mr. Alaje. MDAs are being charged to generate more revenue, and some would tell you, for example, some agencies are supposed to facilitate trade, but they also want to make money. And business owners will come tell you, we are not having it so easy. How do we balance this, where MDAs are charged to make so much money, and they are also supposed to facilitate trade in some cases to make the economy easier? That is something that business owners have raised, and I need your thoughts around that.
Clearly, for people in business, it's really not, 2024 was a very challenging year, but government also wants to continue with the business of governance so that we're able to provide basic amenities for the people.
Yes.
Like I had projected for 2024, even though 2025 may be a bit of relief based on what our econometrics number return, the percentage rate of economic quagmire in 2024, it seems to be higher than 2025. Now we are projecting. Funnily enough, all that we projected in 2024, all, not one, missed. We met targets. The one that we missed, poverty, we are even conservative. We're looking at 8 million, but eventually the data, available data is suggesting 12 million people. So but what we are projecting for 2025 is a bit of relief, relatively better than 2024, even though the economic concerns will not disappear this year. We might see some level of improvement more in 2025, in 2026 and 2027. So businesses now will need to be a bit more innovative in their approach because the economic realities are here. And we also want to advise government, if economy works the way it should work, through circular flow of income, That is, when government gets money, majority of the money is plugged back into the system. It will still go back into the business, into the system within the economy. The more businesses we have access to fund, more jobs will be created, and so on and so forth. The challenge we have seen more often than not is that withdrawal, that seizure in the system. And you remember that early last year, around February, March, and April, I was in the media to say that we need to check if there's correlation between when FAC money is released at the federal level and the increase in rate of USD. And central bank governor subsequently said that they noticed there is a relationship between when FAC money is released and the devaluation of Naira, because it suggests that some people who get this money were keeping it. But we have seen that have stopped in recent time. Again, there may be some level of stability. The thing is that it appears central bank may also be coming into the market, even though gradually. Because with the current occurrence in the global economy and what we have seen, the official rate has remained the same, even though the changes in parallel market has not been humongous, you know. So we might see that level of stability. What does that mean to businesses? Yes, the economic challenges are still here, but the rate of incidence may not be as high as what you have in 2024. Now, what we need to sustain this is to ensure that we manage through, because it's a very delicate situation. If we miss it, we might go back and it become sporadic, and we go back to 2023, 2024 experience, which is not what we want to see. So it is for authority to know that this year should be a year of investment on roads especially, investment on rail, most especially, investment on education, investment on infrastructure. And this is not just for federal government. State governments must invest in large quantum. Now, local government and state government must also invest in large amounts in agriculture. You know why? If they don't, we're going to see higher inflation, especially food inflation. And I like to say, whether we report it or not, people's pots will tell them. People's foodstuff cupboards or stores or wherever means they used to store their food, you know, that small portion, we tell them. People's disposable income, we tell them. And when inflation persists, because we're a few points away from being a major inflator, and maybe when it gets to 40%, we become hyperinflationary nation. But we are hoping we will not get there, even though the number is still very potent, very agile, and looking us directly in the face. So local government and state government must also be responsible. And that is why when government got that autonomy for local government finances, I hope that money is getting to those local government chairmen, and they are planning. Honestly, politics is different. But for those of us in the professional front, what I think should be happening is that by now, we want to have a website where we see where local government and state government wants to plant. You know, harvest season is fast disappearing. We are getting back into planting season. For the coming planting season, what will happen in local government in Gombe, what will happen in local government in Sokoto, what will happen in local government in Imo, what will happen in local government in Osun Ekiti, what will happen in local government in Delta and Bayelsa together. What are these local government and state government doing? And how will federal government come in? What support will the Central Bank of Nigeria give? Now, that we did it before and it didn't have impact does not mean it was wrong. It means that it was done wrongly. It's not wrong for central bank to support one of the most critical sector, one of the highest contributors to our GDP, agri sector, to support and ensure that there are outputs. One of the things state government can do, even from independent farmers, smallholders farmers that we have around, is to have storage facility. Go to Plateau, Jos, where you have high level of Irish potato, one of the best around the world that is produced in Plateau. Can we partner with local government, the local government in Plateau, can they partner with the state government so that we have some level of warehousing, and this is a produce, I beg your pardon, that is consumed all around the country.
Mr. Alaje, if you allow me come in, are you saying that the likes of the anchor borrower scheme or all of that can be reintroduced in another way, properly managed, or what are you talking about? Because you said some of these initiatives were introduced, maybe not properly managed.
Yes, what I'm saying is that there are programs that must be introduced apart from hand to mouth.
Okay.
Remember that when some persons advised Mr. President to give 5,000, I spoke with you, I said the president should never consider giving 5,000 or anyone 1,000 or 2,000. It never worked. It did not work in China. It did not work in India. It did not work in Indonesia. It did not work in Bangladesh. These are countries that have some population pattern like us. Why will it work in Nigeria? President Buhari tried it with all sincerity. Honestly, I give it to President Buhari. He was quite sincere in giving to people. But rather than reducing people living in poverty, it continued to increase. Why? Because there are too many loopholes. There are too many things in terms of structure and system. We are not yet there as a nation. But what can we do? Unlike what happened in the last administration, where rice farmers were giving money and they were buying estates, they were buying houses. That should not be the case. It is for farms. So can we design a model that we are supporting farmers, not just rice, farmers which include maize, cassava, rice, and so on and so forth. Potato, Irish potato, and so on and so forth. So we know what we want to produce based on our consumption pattern. And it will be based on state ability and local government ability. I want to believe that we can do this in partnership with both the states and local government, any federal government, to have that tripartite agreement. President Tinubu has announced that about 2,000 tractors from his media chat are coming to Nigeria. How will this be distributed? Political basis, or will it be distributed based on need and capacity to utilize? It's a separate conversation entirely. Again, one of the things that are giving farmers problem the most, because I am not just an economist, I'm an interested party in that sector, especially for those of us who are also in agro-processing. Yeah. So can we say that it's important for us to have certain outputs? Because this is how Russia came out of quagmire. You know that our situation was better than the situation of India. In early 90s, India was in a total mess. But today, India in Asia is second largest when it comes to output. Nigeria can also be the largest in Africa. In fact, we can feed the entire African nation. And this will have implication on revenue for government, it will have implication on health of our population. It will also have implication on wealth that we are creating in our country. But the truth is, we must design a program. I don't think it should be under humanitarian affairs. Less entitlement mentality certainly, because people feel humanitarian, they are doing good job. I'm not criticizing them. They are doing good job. They are protecting the vulnerable. My statement should not be misinterpreted on social media to mean that, oh, I say humanitarian. No, that's not what I meant. What I'm saying is, we need it to be within a key economic agency to look at how do we deliberately protect our farmers? And, two key things that is concerned for them, seedlings and fertilizers. We cannot say they should be exposed to buying themselves. We are not the only country to subsidize, to support them. America, yes, the all-giant America is protecting farmers. So, but they did it with a system. They did it not because, governors just want to release money to farmers, or federal government, especially most of the time, want to release money to farmers. Let me tell you, people that will show up, politicians, grassroots politicians will show up, they will get the money, or even when governors or senators or honorables, whether state or federal, gets the money, they want to use it to compensate their followers. See, there is life after politics. Real suffering is real. There are those who are not that political, they are on their farms. We need to support them. And in this support, we are going to see major food outputs. We want to end inflation and crash it overnight. I see the president projected 15%, and I said, well, I didn't agree with that figure. Not because I don't want to agree with Mr. President, but my econometrics number is saying otherwise. Why? Policy environment. Let me tell you, we can actually slash inflation significantly. How? If we implement this policy. And all corners, fallow land where kidnappers are using, we tell local governments, see, you are getting your money directly, 30, 40, maximum 50% of your revenue, use it to support farmers. To start with, support farmers in your constituency, and see if we will not have excess maize, excess cassava, excess rice, and so on and so forth. There are factories, let me say this, there are factories
1 minute
in this country, rice factories, that are waiting for paddy.
Yeah.
So there are jobs. We can create jobs ourselves. We can create jobs. But you see, the work of Nigeria is overwhelming for center alone. We must agree to that.
Yeah,
that is why
indeed.
the federal, the state, the local government must come together to say, let's end one problem. What is that problem we want to end? The problem of hunger.
Indeed.
One, you will see the implication on food inflation. When food inflation reduces, you will see it in headline inflation. And
Indeed.
one after the other, we can take it one sector at a time. For today, we just focus on agriculture. I believe that we have time in subsequent time where we look at industry and we look at energy sector and so on and so forth.
True. Indeed, the subnationals have a role to play in for inclusive growth. It's very, very important. I totally agree with that. Mr. Paul Alaje, interesting conversation as usual. Partner, senior economist, SPM professionals, thank you so much for your time and have a great 2025 and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for having me.